Are you thinking about moving to Maryland? If so, this video is for you because here are my top 10 reasons why I love living here. So one of the number one reasons why people consider Maryland to move is because of job opportunities. I know it's a small state, but we have our finger in some pretty cool industries and a lot of support for them. So first up, we have the medical space, right? We have NIH, we have Johns Hopkins, we have the University of Maryland system. So you have, research that's going on, you have lobbyists in DC that's pushing stuff, you have a ton of money in that space, and then of course, there's enough people here where, we need good doctors, we need good nurses. So there's some pretty phenomenal both research and hospital places here. So that definitely is top on the list. Lots of job opportunities on that front. We have NASA, that's right in Greenbelt, right? And you have all the space companies that support them, from Northrop Grumman to Boeing to Lockheed Martin. Then, talking about those companies, how about the DoD, right? There's like endless opportunities just on the whole DoD front. There's multiple military bases all within a short drive. You have Fort Meade, which obviously is huge. You have the NSA there. You have Andrews Air Force Base. Bowling is pretty close. Fort Detrick is pretty close. PAX is pretty close. So we have a whole bunch of just military bases, but then we also have things like Homeland Security. We have the FBI. All these things are right, in DC, like the headquarters is down there, right? So we have so much stuff that's right in DC that's just over the border. We have some things that are just over in Northern Virginia, and we have things that are locally here in Maryland. And so if you are in this sort of like little DMV area, there is just a ton of job opportunities, from working directly for those companies or getting the support for the people in those companies. If you're into teaching, well, guess what? All these people coming in, there's a lot of kids. There's a lot of people who need school. So we need teachers. Again, lots of job opportunities. It is definitely one of the number one things why people consider moving to Maryland. Now, one little brief thing before I move on, having all that infrastructure, having all that support from the government here also kind of insulates us as a state, where some states may rely on only one industry or one main company. The reality is we have so much support in these different sort of verticals that we're pretty well insulated. We don't have the same ups and downs that some other places have because we just have so much support and so much money coming out of DC. Number two on our list is it's just a great place to live, and it has a little bit of everything for everybody. So what do I mean? Well, the thing is, there are some places in our country that feel all the same, right? Like you hear about Atlanta, for example, that it's just like one big sprawling city. The suburbs, it just keeps going and going and going. It feels like it's all kind of the same. No, I don't really know. I don't go to Atlanta so much, but you get the idea, right? Where Maryland, we have all these different little niche-y sort of places. So if you want to be in the city, no problem. Check out Baltimore. Check out, downtown Annapolis. How about Bethesda or Rockville? You can have that city vibe, no problem. If you prefer farmland, well, how about going up to Frederick or go to Davidsonville or Harwood? Maybe hop over to the Eastern Shore if you want something that's a little bit more low-key. Or maybe if you just want some suburbs, no problem. We have everything from, Bowie to Upper Marlboro to Severna Park to Pasadena. Like, we have a ton of suburbs. We have some city feels. We have waterfront, water view type places from Annapolis to Severna Park. Or if you want some mountains, you can head up to Western Maryland, go to Deep Creek Lake. You want a little beach? Maybe it's not the greatest, but you can head over to Ocean City. The point is, we have all kinds of stuff in this really small state, which also means it's fairly accessible. So you can live in some of these areas and still get to work fairly easily, or just take a day trip to go enjoy some of the other things that the state has to offer. So I think it's just one of those places that just has a little bit of everything for everybody. And you get to decide what kind of vibe do you like. Our third reason to move to Maryland is because we have all four seasons. Now, if you talk to people in Maryland, they'll laugh a little bit and they'll say Mother Nature gets a little bit confused because there's definitely times in the winter where it might be like 60 or 70 degrees and you're like, wasn't it just like snowing or like ice like a week ago? So it is a little bit back and forth, and that part is a little bit weird. That being said, during the spring and the fall, it's usually like between 50 and 70 degrees, like not super cold, not super hot. During the summer, the temps do get up there. They're usually around the 80s. There are going to be some days that are going to be in the 90s. So it's a really nice weather as far as go hit the beach, go down in the water. I will say the humidity, that is a drag. That's definitely a negative, different conversation. That being said, so the summers, definitely warm enough. The winters, they're cold, but they're not freezing, not typically, right? Most of the area that's kind of closer to DC, we don't usually get that much snow. We'll get a couple inches here and there, and every couple years we'll get, a good, nice snowstorm. So we don't have a lot of snow here. If you do want a little bit more snow and you still want to be in Maryland, you got to head up to Western Maryland and go check out Deep Creek Lake. Just because their elevation change, because the mountains there, they actually get a decent amount of snow. So again, you can enjoy all 4 seasons here. It's not just always hot or just always cold. So I think that's pretty cool. I enjoy it. It just, it switches it up a little bit. The 4th reason to consider Maryland your home is because of all the water. In particular, I'm thinking of the Chesapeake Bay. But really, it's not just the Chesapeake, it's just kind of everything here. Depending on what survey you look at, we have roughly 3,200 or 7,800 miles of coastline or shoreline type of stuff. The reason there's such a huge discrepancy is because it depends on which aerial photos you look at. It was the first was down in the 40s, and it was all by hand, and the map scale was much smaller, just wasn't as far out. Now we have a lot more aerial and better resolution type systems from drones and planes and you name it, where they're able to get a lot more scale and they're able to actually see more detail, where Maryland doesn't have just a big river, right? It's not just one big bay. We have lots of tributaries and all these little water spots, that kind of little fingers of stuff that goes through. And so they're able to say, you know what, there's twice as much shoreline here as we expected. So it depends on which survey you want to go off of. But why do I mention this? Well, the thing is, there's some spots that I think can get a little bit boring, right? It's just big open water. Where one thing I really love about this area is that we have all these tributaries and all these little tiny rivers and, little spots just kind of come off, and they're all kind of weaving in and out like little fingers, which means there's lots of waterfront properties, lots of water view, lots of water privileged areas. There's really some fantastic restaurants that overlook the water, and there's some epic sunsets, right? I mean, between the water and the rolling hills, it's just a really pretty place to live. It's not just flat and boring and the same thing over and over. So Maryland definitely is kind of known for some of their rolling hills and sort of the farmland, which is funny because, again, we're right next to DC. We're still right next to all the city action, and yet it has all this to offer and enjoy. So I love it. And number 5 is enjoying some blue crabs. So it's one of those things that Maryland is really big on, right? We are big on our crabs here, as well as our spice. You'll see all kinds of things around the world, Old Spice being a big Maryland thing. But a little known fact, a lot of the crabs actually are cooked in another seasoning from a company called J.O. Spice Company. And so the point is, we have our J.O. Spice Company and we also have Old Bay. You'll see them both used frequently for cooking the crabs and then, putting maybe on top either your shrimp or your crabs. We have all kinds of things too, like the ways to enjoy it, from crab pretzels to stuffed mushrooms to pizza. We go to Neo Pizza, for example, and get the Chesapeake, which is a white pizza with crab meat on top and a little garlic aioli. I mean, there's just so much crab meat and spice here. It's pretty amazing. You're sitting there, you're enjoying, maybe having some drinks, socializing, and just having a good time and eating these sweet, delicious little crabs. Number 6, getaway trips. Whether it's for the day or for the weekend, we have some pretty awesome places that are all right here in nearby that you have access to. For an example, for me, one of my favorite weekend trips is to head up to Western Maryland and then go to Deep Creek Lake. Now, it helps that my parents have a lovely waterfront home right on the lake. So yeah, that helps. So I'm a little bit biased. But even if you don't have that, whether you're renting the house or whether you're camping out there, it's an amazing place to go visit. They have a beautiful lake. They have some great hiking trails. There's Wisp that you can go skiing at. During the summer, they have a whole man-made whitewater rafting thing. There's just a ton of stuff you can do, from jet skiing to wakeboarding to skiing, snow skiing, water skiing, swimming, running, hiking, you name it. It's a fantastic place to go visit. So super fun, go do that. Now, if you prefer maybe a little bit more warmer weather and you want the beach, well, a lot of people love going over to Ocean City. That's on the Eastern Shore. That being said, if it has a normal touristy boardwalk kind of stuff and so on and so forth, and if that's maybe not your speed, maybe go to Aztec Island. It's not far from Ocean City. They're, 15, 20 minutes apart. It's been a bit since I went, but there's wild ponies in the campground. You camp there and there's literally ponies walking in and around the campsite. If you don't secure your food, they will literally come and eat it. It's pretty funny and it's pretty cool. Number 7 on our list is access to Washington, D.C. So here's the deal. D.C. is our nation's capital. It's one of those things that people from all over the country and all over the world come and visit and want to see what we have to offer. Well, you don't have to travel very far. Like, I live, 15 miles or so from DC. Like, I can head right up to 50 and it's there. I can go check out all the different museums that the Smithsonian has to offer. I can go see all the monuments, not just during the day, but go see some of these at night with all the lights. It's lovely. Really great experience. Highly recommend. That being said, there's also really some fantastic restaurants. You also have some high-end shopping. Another added bonus of being so close to DC and Northern Virginia basically means that we're on like the tourist city list for a lot of big performances. So whether it's, Taylor Swift coming through or, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra for the Christmas time or whatever, like there's a lot of your big shows. Like pretty much every year I go and see Cirque du Soleil, whether it's gonna be over at the National Harbor or over at Tyson's. The thing is, both of them, they're right here. Like all this stuff is super close. So it's really convenient having, again, access to some of the best things come through our area. All right, number 8, let's talk about schools and education. According to a study back in 2021, Maryland was the second most educated state in the country. That's pretty wild, but it makes sense when you think about all those job opportunities I was talking about earlier, right? If we have all these big jobs, it creates a lot of high demand for people with education. So totally makes sense, but still pretty wild to know. Now, if you're moving here, you might be thinking, okay, yeah, that's great that people are educated, but what about the schools? Like maybe you have kids or someone's about to, start school. Well, here's the good news. We're always ranked kind of like in the top third. Now, it does depend. Are we talking high school, college, elementary, kindergarten, all that good stuff? The numbers vary a little bit. One of the studies I was just looking at, we were ranked number 14. Again, that's, out of the whole country. So that's really not too bad. I'm going to say definitely a top notch as far as a top tier, as far as school systems overall, pretty solid with that. Now, with there, I will say we do have a few schools and a few counties that always make the list, right? So Montgomery County, for example, in Bethesda, there's some schools there that definitely make like the top schools in the country. We have some really, quality schools here in Anne Arundel as another example. Myself for high school, I went to DeMatha. It's a private school versus the public schools, but that school regularly makes like the best, one of the best football teams, basketball teams. Their band is amazing. Their education is amazing. So again, we have some really solid private schools. We have some really solid public schools. And overall, I think the education level here is really pretty solid. So I'm a fan of it. I'm also a product of it. And so for me, that gives a big thumbs up. And number 9, which means we're almost to our list, Maryland is rich in history. We are one of the original colonies founded in 1632, and then we became a state in 1776. Now, of course, being one of the founding members, Maryland has been around through much of its history of our country. So, for example, the Star-Spangled Banner, which we all sing at sporting events, well, that was written at Fort McHenry, right here in Baltimore, just down the road from me. Or how about the fact that the Maryland Gazette is one of the original, oldest newspapers and is still around and still produced? Or how about the fact that we had the first telegraph line between Baltimore and Washington was right here? Again, there's so many different things that have happened through the founding of this country that Maryland has been part of. So if you dig history and you're into all that stuff, this is definitely a place to be. And number 10 is infrastructure. So here's the deal. Infrastructure is kind of a big topic and is a little bit on the eye of the beholder. So in other words, I know if you look online and look at some like the grading report cards, they may give us like a C or like a B minus or something for like our report grade for infrastructure. But the thing is, if I was just to simply say, well, how do we stack up to other parts of the country? I think we stack up really, really well, at least if we're talking about a lot of the counties near the DMV. I mean, overall, we have a lot of schools, we have a lot of police departments, we have a lot of fire stations, we have a lot of hospitals, all at least in the DMV area. They also, overall, I think, do a pretty good job taking care of the roads. Is it perfect? No. And are there certain roads that are like famous for a ton of potholes? 100%, absolutely. Have I gotten, a flat tire and bent my rim on some of those roads? Yes, absolutely. That being said, when I compare how we are to other parts of the state or other parts of the world, I think we're pretty good. You know, I've done enough traveling and I'm like, wow, you know what? I'm pretty fortunate. We have a lot of things over here that some of these other areas don't. So could it improve? 100%. But like, if we really are honest and we take a look and say, well, how do we stack up? I think we have a lot, at least in like the metropolitan area. So I'm a fan. I think it's a big reason to consider here is because you have lots of infrastructure and lots of support. As you can probably tell, I love living in Maryland, and if you choose to call Maryland your home, I hope you will as well. If you have any questions about moving in or out of the state, please let us know, shoot us a DM, as that is what we do. We help buyers and sellers move in and out of the area. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.